Craving juicy prime rib for breakfast? Get the prime rib and fried egg biscuit and prime rib burrito at Hardee's. And right now, when you buy one prime rib breakfast item, you get one free. That's right, free. For a limited time at Hardee's. Feed your happy. Offer available for limited time during breakfast hours at participating restaurants. Tax not included. Price may vary. One offer per customer. Not valid with any other offer. Discount combo while supplies last.
The following is a Hoop Ball presentation.
Hello and welcome to another edition of DFS Today, presented by Hoop Ball. I am back from a little 1 week hiatus, and I am your host, David Menkov, and I'm joined by my new exciting partner in crime here, Will. How are you tonight, Will?
I'm doing great, David. So glad you're back. I missed you so much. So
I think everyone could hear the sarcasm coming through on that one, but either way, we have a fun little Friday, April 23rd card. Surprising, only 7 games on the docket for everyone to dive into. So let's, without too much further ado, let's jump right into the first game of the night. It's a 7:30 p.m. start. We have the Miami Heat traveling to take on the Atlanta Hawks. As far as injuries are concerned, on the Miami Heat side, Tyler Hero is questionable for this one. Victor Oladipo remains out. Gabe Vincent is probable. And on the Hawks side, we have some injury news of note. Clint Capela is questionable for this game. We have Chris Dunn, who's out still. DeAndre Hunter is out. Cam Reddish is out. And now the big one is Trae Young is now out with a left ankle sprain, which is going to be really key for us to look at. Tony Snell is also doubtful, but he doesn't move the needle much when it comes to DFS anyway. So getting into the Miami Heat side of the ball, who do you like on the Miami Heat side in this matchup against the depleted Hawks?
Right. Well, whenever I think of the Miami Heat, it's the two main guys come to mind. It's Jimmy Butler at 9,700. He always can get you that 50 to 60 DraftKings price value. So he's a little high. You know, his price has gone up and up and up. I liked him better at 9,000, but now he's at 9,700. So you don't have to force him in your lineup, in my opinion. And this game, it doesn't have an over or under, I don't believe, but it could be. Yeah, it doesn't. So it could be a blowout too, with everyone hurt on Atlanta, you know, especially with Trae Young out. So and also you can look at Bam Adebayo. Obviously, he's just a guaranteed double guy, scoring in the 20s, 3 out of the last 4 games. You know, he's just a guaranteed play. And at 8,200, that's a great price. The only other guy I'm looking at is Kendrick Nunn, with Tyler Hero questionable. That's going to help Nunn. If Tyler Hero plays, I think I probably would fade Nunn. But at 5,100, it's pretty safe right now since Oladipo's not around. Nunn, the other game, last game he had 22 points. But the game before he had 53 DraftKings points. So he has that potential. So if there are injuries and people are out, you can sneak him in your lineup. But keep an eye out on any news for Tyler Hero. Anyone else on the Heat you're looking at?
I mean, looks like we're picking up right where we left off 2 weeks ago, and I'm with you across the board here. And that's pretty much it. I mean, I have to say that the Kendrick Nunn call is fantastic. I mean, this game has all the makings of a potential blowout if the Heat come into this game motivated, looking strong. The Hawks don't have their bread and butter, Trae Young. If Clint Capela sits too, I mean, this game is going to be over and done with very quickly. So Kendrick Nunn should get plenty of run. If, as you mentioned, Tyler Hero is out in this one, 5,100 is a great price tag. I'm also looking a little bit. You can go Goran Dragic potentially as well. He hasn't been doing in his last game in a blowout. He didn't really play many minutes. Only played 19 minutes against the Spurs. But in the previous blowout against the Rockets, he did put up almost 40 fantasy points. And at 5K, he's another great option if Tyler Hero ends up sitting. I like Dragic off the bench, but you nailed it. Bam Adebayo, 8,200. That's price is pretty much a steal. It's one of the more outrageous prices considering the matchup potential here. He should be able to hit value very easily here. And Jimmy Butler, 9,700 might scare some people off at that price tag, but he's rock solid. If this game stays close, he has triple-double potential every night, every time he steps on the floor. So I love that call of Jimmy Butler. But those are my three main guys, and you can throw in a fourth in there if you want. And that's pretty much it. If you don't have anyone else, I think we can dive in on the Atlanta side of the ball. Who do you like with some of these injuries popping up and potential additional injuries on the Atlanta side of the ball?
Right, you're gonna have to keep an eye out on Clint Capela. He's valued at 8,800. If he sits, that's gonna impact a lot. So you're gonna have to keep an eye out on that. But if he plays, he's always worth considering. You just need to make sure he's not going to be limited. I saw a stat over the last 6 games. He's been averaging 19 points and 19 rebounds, and some crazy number of blocks too. So he's been playing incredible. So check out his injury notes. If he sits, I think you can look at John Collins at 6,800. His price is way down because after his injury, they've been working him back into the lineup. He hasn't been at full go. They've just been easing him in there. The most minutes he's played really is 28. If Capela's out, I think that should give him more offensive opportunities. He clearly can play 25 to 30 minutes. So that's a great value price for him. And you can look at Bogdan Bogdanovic at 7,800. He's just been rock steady at that price value for the most part. And with Trey out, especially, that's just more offensive production for him. And speaking of Trey, with him out, his backup point guard is Brandon Goodwin. And so he will get all those responsibilities that Trey will be leaving behind. A couple games ago when Trey was out, he's got 35 and 32 DraftKings points. So he has that potential, and he's at 3,400. So that's a steal of a play, in my opinion. Anyone else you like on the Hawks?
You nailed it again. This is getting it's kind of a broken record with all of our recordings at this point. But I have to say, you definitely touched on it. John Collins, I penned in to my card as someone to really monitor. If Clint Capela does sit, he should be unleashed a little bit. He does have potential. We've seen it before the injury. So he has that 40, 50-point ceiling. He put up 36 fantasy points a couple of nights ago. I still think he's got more juice left to squeeze here, so he can put up a 50-burger pretty quickly against the Heat potentially if he gets a lot of that extra run at the 4 or 5. So I love John Collins, and then you touched on it. Brandon Godwin is Goodwin. Sorry, I don't know why I said Godwin. Is also a great pick. 3,400 is a fantastic price tag. He should get 20-25 minutes. I also. The final guy I'm looking at potentially is Lou Williams, too, at 4,300. I know he's old. I know he's not getting the same amount of minutes. But, we've seen Sweet Lou just put on offensive display whenever he gets extra usage. And he should get plenty more usage in this type of game. He's only been capping out at 25 minutes a game for the most part as a member of the Hawks. But this is a great opportunity with Trae Young out in a very important game for the Atlanta Hawks. I expect Lou Williams to really step up and carry some of that offensive load at 4,300. There are worse plays at that price tag. So I'm going to throw in Lou Williams to the mix on that front.
That's a good call. I would love to see him get more opportunities and maybe even play a little point guard. So that's a good call.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Awesome. All right. So we are now one down. The next game on the card, we have the Boston Celtics traveling to take on the Brooklyn Nets, a 7:30 p.m. start. This game also doesn't have a spread or total. As far as injuries are concerned, the Celtics have not yet submitted an injury report. However, we already know as far as who will likely be out, and that's going to be Jaylen Brown is going to be out for this one, as well as Robert Williams. Evan Fournier is also out for the Celtics. On the Nets side, we have a pretty exhaustive injury report at this point as well. No surprise at this point in the season, right? Lamarcus Aldridge is out and most likely retired. Chris Chioza is out. Nicholas Claxton is out due to health and safety protocols. Spencer Dinwiddie is, of course, out. Kevin Durant is actually upgraded to questionable in this one, which is something to monitor. James Harden remains out, and Tyler Johnson is doubtful. So, with that said, on the Boston Celtics side, I'll dive in quickly as far as with Jaylen Brown being out. I'm seeing a lot more usage across the board in a great matchup against a depleted Nets team. So I'm looking at Kyrie Irving from the top, 10,100. Kyrie Irving coming off a 63-point effort against the Raptors. He's going to be asked to continue to carry the offensive load with the absence of Harden and potentially Kevin Durant. If Kevin Durant comes back for this one, I still like Kyrie Irving despite that price tag. If anything, he's going to have lower ownership to boot, which would only help him for me as far as lineup I don't even know why. Sorry about that. I switched to the Nets, unfortunately. Let's dive back into the Celtics where I started this conversation. You know what? Confusion because Kyrie Irving did play on the Celtics, so that's on me.
That's what did it. That's what did it. Yeah,
100%. So, like I was saying earlier, Jason Tatum with Jaylen Brown out is going to be a great pick at 10,000. He should have all the usage he can handle. In the last 5 games, he's had a 68-point effort and a 55-point effort. I expect something in the 50 to 60 range here at 10,000. That's a great price tag. It should be up-tempo matchup against the Nets. So he's my favorite play on the Celtics side. I also have some interest in Kemba Walker, 7,500. With Jaylen Brown out, he's going to have more usage coming off a 45-point effort against the Warriors and 45-point effort 2 games ago as well against the Blazers. Kemba Walker is in a perfect spot in an up-tempo type of game. I imagine the score is going to be in the 220, 230 range in this matchup. So I love Kemba Walker in this type of up-tempo style. And that's really the only place I'm really looking. I'm not going to have a lot of interest in Tristan Thompson despite a 4,900 price tag. He hasn't really been showing any consistency recently as well. And that's pretty much it for me on the Celtics side. Who do you like on the Celtics side? Anyone else that you have your eye on?
Yes, well, with Kemba Walker, he's been sitting out of back-to-back, so he's playing on April 22nd. So I don't know if he's going to play tomorrow. They don't really announce that the day before. But if he sits, which I would expect him to, you can look at Peyton Pritchard at 3,700. He's obviously would get all those point guard minutes. So that's something to monitor because they've been babying Kemba with his knee. And also, if that remains the fact, I would look at Marcus Smart at 6,900 with Jaylen Brown out. He's been playing pretty well with everyone in. So long as Jaylen Brown is out, Kemba is out, you can play Marcus Smart at 6,900. And you made a great point about Jason Tatum. When I see 10,000 beside his name, that kind of scares me off. Because I'm used to him being around 9,000. But with Jaylen Brown out and against the Nets, which you just said would be a high scoring, high up tempo game, it's probably worth it. It's just scary for me with that 10,000 price for Jason Tatum. But you could definitely put him in your lineup.
For sure. I mean, it's definitely a gamble. We haven't seen Jason Tatum priced that high, I think, all season. So that's definitely something. That's a great call out there, for sure. Any interest in the front court outside of Tatum on the Boston side?
No.
Fair enough. All right.
We need the Time Lord to come back.
Absolutely. All right, so let's dive into the other side of the ball. Who do you like on the Nets side now that Kyrie Irving does play for the Brooklyn Nets?
Right. You hit that right on the head. You have to put Kyrie in your lineup, even though he's at 10,100. He will get all of the offense that he wants. And like you said, he had 63 drafting points last game. You do have to keep an eye on if KD plays, though. That'll knock him a little bit, but, I doubt KD will play a full complement of minutes, so you still could use him. I could look at Bruce Brown at 5,500. he's been picking up the offensive slate since KD's been out. Last game, he had 21 points and 14 rebounds. So it's good to see that the last 3 games he's had double-digit rebounds. He does more than just score. So if his shots are not falling, he's still going to be productive in other ways. I think you can look at Landry Shaman at 4,700. He's been playing pretty well also, mainly on the defensive end, but he can put up some points. 3 games ago, he had 30 actual NBA points. So, I mean, he has that potential also, but that would only be if KD is out. And I think you can look at DeAndre Jordan at 3,900. With all of that front court depleted pretty much, last game he had 29 minutes. So that's what you want from him. As long as he's getting 25 to 30 minutes, he should be able to get you, like he has 7 points and 12 rebounds. So you expect close to a double-double for him. And at 3,900, that's a great price.
Yeah, I mean, I really have nothing else to add. In fact, every single guy you just mentioned, Will, is a guy that I had circled down for the Brooklyn Nets. Kyrie, Bruce Brown, Landry Shaman, and DeAndre Jordan, nobody else. So, I mean, there's not much else to add other than I think out of those guys, I'm definitely most comfortable, obviously, in Kyrie Irving. But as far as second tier goes, I hate to do this, but DeAndre Jordan is probably going to be my second favorite play, just because with Claxton out, he's going to get a ton of run in this type of game. So I love DeAndre, and he's actually one of 2 of my favorite plays under 4,000, and they're both happen to be in the center position on the slate. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see how we want to play our lineups, because there's definitely a possibility to have 2 low budget centers in your lineups for tonight's card. So something to keep in mind as well. So
you know what that means, right? Blake Griffin is gonna get like 40 points and 20 rebounds because we didn't mention him.
every time. And you know what, Blake, feel free, because as a Blake of the year, we always can expect some type of Blake performance. I mean, he's coming off a dud, so he's going to put up, to your point, at least 40 in this one. So 4,900, if you want to go down the Blake Griffin train, feel free, but I wouldn't trust him with my life at this point. So let's put it that way. Awesome. So before we jump into the next game on the card, I just wanted to do a quick shout out. Ever since we started this podcast, people have been asking me for betting tips. I always get asked, who do you got? Lakers or Clippers, Rodgers or Mahomes? And I'll tell you what I tell them. Where you bet is just as important as who you're betting on. That's why I tell people to bet with MyBookie. MyBookie's rep is rock solid, and they got the best odds, contests, promotions in the business. They're the only place I trust to handle my NBA-related bets. The one sportsbook guaranteed to give me the best lines for the Zurich Classic this weekend. You know me, and you know that I don't give out my stamp of approval easily. To earn it, you've got to be the best at what you do, and MyBookie is the best sportsbook out there, period. It's simple. Sign up, enter promo code HoopBall, and get your deposit matched halfway up to $1,000. Head over to MyBookie if you want to add a little excitement to the sports you love and the games you bet. Bet with the best, bet with MyBookie. All right, well, let's dive into the next game on the slate. It's an 8 p.m. start time. We have the Cleveland Cavaliers traveling to take on the Charlotte Hornets. So I know you're excited about that one.
Yep.
And we actually do have a spread in line for this one. 209 is the total, with the Hornets favored by 1 point. So another exciting thing for the Charlotte side. And as far as injuries are concerned, we have some injuries to note on the Charlotte Hornets side. Of course, LaMelo Ball continues to be out, but obviously we've heard some exciting news this week that LaMelo Ball will be coming back sooner rather than later, which is very exciting. Gordon Hayward is out in this one as well. Malik Monk is also out for the Charlotte Hornets. On the Cavaliers side, we've got a few injuries. Damian Dotson's out. Torian Prince is out, and Dylan Windler is also out in this one. All right, on the Cleveland side of the ball, who do you like, if anyone, now with the Cleveland Cavaliers relatively healthy in this important matchup against the Charlotte Hornets?
Right, I think you can look at, their famous duo called Sexland. Colin Sexton at 7,300. His last two games, 46 and 48 DraftKings points. And Darius Garland at 6,800. Last three games, 38, 38, 47. I mean, you can keep going. He's been pretty consistent all year. You probably would have to choose one of them, so you probably want to choose the cheaper guy in Garland at 6,800. But I think either you're in good hands playing either one of them, and it's not a crazy matchup against Charlotte. They should have a good game. And the only other guy I'm looking at is Kevin Love at 6,500. He's pretty safe to get you 30 DraftKings points. If you want safe, if you want 30 guaranteed, that should be him. It's not going to be fun because, Kevin Love is, he's at any time he can get hurt and anytime he can sit out. But, he's getting pretty consistent, pretty close to a double-double, around 15 and 10 his last three games. So that's usable. I wish he was a little bit cheaper, but, what can you do? Anyone else on Cleveland you're looking at?
Honestly, at this point, I'm not even going to say anything because you nailed it again. I had Kevin Love penciled in just because, to your point, Kevin Love is consistent. I mean, if he gets the same amount of consistent playing time each game now that he's healthy. He's not going to blow the scorecard out with 50-point upside anymore at this point in his career, it looks like. But to have a steady baseline of 30 fantasy points at that price tag is not so bad. As far as the two guards, I like your Darius Garland's call over Colin Sexton, but you can't go wrong with Sexton either. He was going to be very much overlooked on the slate, I think, at 7,300, coming off a string of those 46 and 48-point performances, and his price tag went down somehow. Clearly, people at DraftKings also don't like the Cleveland Cavaliers, but they did not price him accordingly here. So you can take that and run with it. I will most likely have some shares of Colin Sexton just because of that. And that's pretty much it on this side of the ball. As far as on the Charlotte Hornets side, I mean, it's a whole different conversation. I think there's a lot of guys that are starting to be priced way too high for my liking. The guys I'm looking at right now is going to be Devontae Graham, who's kind of been playing very consistently recently. 6,500. That price tag is usually you want some more consistency at that price tag. And his last couple of games, he hasn't been able to hit value tremendously. So I'm going to have a little bit of interest in Devontae Graham, but for me, it's really going to come down to as far as on the Hornets side, I'm looking at Terry Rozier, 8,700. I mean, that price tag is extremely high, but he's been playing consistent basketball recently. I mean, his last 4 games, he's averaging over 50 fantasy points. 8,700 is a great price tag for someone that is carrying the Hornets right now. So I'm all in on Terry Rozier, despite that high 8,000 price tag. I'm not going to have a lot of interest in PJ Washington. I know he's been playing pretty well off the bench in recent games, but I just don't trust him. And it's hard to take a gamble again on a guy that's 6,300 that you just can't trust too much. Jalen McDaniels priced too high, in my opinion. And Miles Bridges, I pretty much think he's broken the slate when it comes to his pricing at this point. I mean, in a little over a week, he went from 5,800 on DraftKings to 8,000. So, I mean, he's definitely warranted with some of his performances, but I don't feel comfortable paying $8,000 for Mr. Bridges on the Hornets. So, who do you like, and do you agree with any of my picks for your favorite team here?
I mean, you pretty much nailed it. I do have Terry Rozier at 8,700. Like you said, he's been putting up the value. You wish he was a little cheaper, but I mean, he's been carrying the team. But the only other guy I have written down is PJ Washington, just because of his price at 6,300. But you make an incredible point that he is not trustworthy at all. He's just been pretty consistent. His last 4 out of 5 games have been good. But yeah, at any moment he could drop a dud. So you could use him, but I would not feel confident. So that was a great call on your part. And definitely Miles Bridges is priced way too high for our liking. He probably could still come close to hitting value, but you wish he was priced 1,000 or 2,000 lower. So yeah, you nailed it. I'm not messing with Devontae Graham right now because at 6,500, I think there's better value. I would trust Garland over him, and Garland is at 6,800. So but you can't go too wrong with it. You can look at Jalen McDaniels. From when he first got minutes, he was very productive, but that production has been dropping down. So, but he's getting the minutes still. But that might be too much of a risk at 5,800. But that's about it for Charlotte.
Love it, and of course everyone has to take Will's picks seriously when it comes to the Charlotte Hornets, because this man knows the Charlotte Hornets better than anyone. So I fully support everything you're throwing out there. All right, so let's dive into the next game. We have the Los Angeles Clippers traveling to take on the tanking, exciting tank job of the Houston Rockets at this point. So this game actually does have, unfortunately, a spread in total.
Unfortunately.
223 is the total, and the spread is a whopping 11.5 points. And I think that's being reasonable, only because Kawhi Leonard looks like he is out for this one. As far as injuries are concerned, on the Clippers, Patrick Beverley is out, Serge Ibaka continues to be out, Kawhi Leonard's out, and Rajon Rondo is questionable. On the Rockets side of the ball, DJ Augustine's out, Sterling Brown's out, Dante Exum's out, Eric Gordon's out, Daniel House is actually probable in this one, something to monitor, I guess. David Nwaba is also out in this game. All right, Will, with this game potentially being an absolute blowout, I'm looking at a few value plays on the Clippers side, where I'm going to look as far as building lineups are concerned. Who do you like on the Clippers, and can you trust Paul George?
I think you definitely can trust Paul George. I mean, he's been lighting it up lately. 56, 45, 61, 60, 50, 53, 52. That's what you want from someone that you're paying $9,300. I mean, that's the price of someone at $10,000. So with Kawhi Leonard, some of those games had Kawhi Leonard also. So Kawhi Leonard is out. That's a safe play at $9,300 for Paul George. He's one of my favorite plays of the night. Even though it's potential for a blowout, I mean, they have to at least get to the blowout point. He's going to be the main focal point of the offense to get them that big lead anyway. So the only other two people I'm looking at are Marcus Morris at 6,100. I hate playing Marcus Morris usually, but I mean, over his last 7 games, he's been a very productive player. Early in the season, he was sticking it up and, definitely not deserving of that contract that he got, but he's been playing a lot better lately, and with Kawhi out, it should be a safe play. And then you can look at Ivica Zubac at 5,400. He's just a solid play, not going to be too exciting, but can get you anywhere from 25 to 35 DraftKings points. And against Christian Wood and Kelly Olynyk, it's a pretty safe matchup for him. I'm not really touching anyone else. Are you looking at Reggie Jackson or anyone else on the Clippers?
You know what? Well, this is the first one that I'm gonna have to throw out a name that you didn't even mention, and it's probably for a good reason too, to be honest with you. But I'm looking at one of the recent signees, Mr. Yogi Farrell,
wow,
on the Clippers. I know this is a left field answer, but 3,700 coming off a game where he played 20 minutes. Put up 8 and 7 with a steal and had 21 fantasy points. I mean, yes, he's priced up a little bit at 3,700, but I mean, if becomes a blowout, which I fully expect it does, why not give Mr. Farrell, the former Hoosier, a little playing time? So I'm all aboard the Yogi train when it comes to the Clippers. I'm sure he's gonna be like 1% owned, but I'm sticking with Yogi Farrell here. I think he has potential to be a great value play. So that's the only other guy I'm mentioning on the Clippers. I love your Paul George, Marcus Morris picks. I'll have some interest in Zubac too, but Yogi Farrell is the real wild card in this whole slate that I'm going to be playing.
Question: would you still play him if Rondo does play?
Great question. If Rondo plays, I'm going to be a little bit off of the Yogi train, but if Rondo's out, fire up Yogi with confidence.
There you go. All right.
Love it. All right. So and then jumping up over to the Rockets side of the ball, I mean, with them going full tank mode, can you trust anyone, and will you play Armani Brooks at 3,600?
Right. He's a name I have written down. I had Christian Wood written down at 8,300, but I mean, that's a little too high for me, especially when we talked earlier. You got Bam at 8,200. So I don't think you can play Christian Wood. With Kevin Porter Jr. out, the next guy up should be Jason Tate. He's a pretty solid player. Earlier in the year, he was showing flashes of great potential until Kevin Porter came. So hopefully he can display that again with him gone right now because of his injury / altercation they got into. But yeah, Armani Brooks at 3,600 is interesting to me. It just all depends on John Wall. I wish John Wall was out, and I would feel a lot more comfortable playing him. But like I said, this should be a blowout, so he should get productive minutes. And at 3,600, that's a pretty good risk. So it's a risk, but I mean, it's up to you if you want to take it. You just never know. I mean, because with John Wall playing, it makes it a little scary. What do you think?
Yeah, especially with John Wall being an absolute usage monster. I think John Wall never got the memo from the coach saying that they're going full tank mode and he's just putting up any shot that he sees fit. So I mean, it's doing great for their loss ability, but it's not helping other guys get DraftKings points. So that's the one issue with John Wall playing. So I like your call. I hope that he sits with some phantom injury, just for the sake of other guys getting some looks here. Otherwise,
we're not wishing injury on John Wall. He's been hurt way too much.
I know. I'm obviously joking, everyone. Obviously joking. But yeah. So I think that pretty much sums up the Rockets. Unless you had anyone else, I think we can dive into the next game. We have awesome. We have the Wizards. Let me preface it by saying we have the Battle of Tank City here. Washington Wizards traveling to take on Oklahoma City Thunder at 8 p.m. We actually surprisingly do have a spread and total. It's actually one of the highest totals of the entire slate. It's 230.5, and the Wizards are somehow favored by 9 points in this game. I don't understand any of that, but as far as injuries are concerned, we have some injuries to report. Of course, on the Washington side, Danny Avdija, the promising rookie, is out. Thomas Bryant remains out, and Rui Hachimura is also out. And yet somehow they're favored. And on the Thunder side of the ball, we have Gabriel Deck, who is out. Luguentz Dort is questionable in this one. So, I mean, to monitor, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is out, Josh Hall is out, and Mike Muscala is out. All right, well, I think I'll jump in a little bit here on the Wizards side. With Westbrook and Bradley Beal both healthy, I'm definitely going to still put my eggs in the basket with Mr. Westbrook. Definitely not a revenge game by any means because it's the Thunder versus Wizards here, and no one's going to be really looking for that angle. But something to monitor, of course. Russell Westbrook has been putting up insane numbers recently. His lowest game was a couple of nights ago against the Pistons, where he put up almost 57 fantasy points. He's been consistently hitting 60 to 65 plus fantasy points recently, and is now averaging yet another triple-double season is in the works here, which is, of course, the Russell special. So I love Russell Westbrook at 11,000. I'm not scared off at the price tag. He should be able, in a high-paced matchup, to do whatever he wants and get a very easy triple-double, if there's such a thing as an easy triple-double. So I love Westbrook. And then that's pretty much, surprisingly, that's pretty much it on the Wizards side of the ball. I'm not going to have a lot of interest in Bradley Beal at 9,600. There isn't one more guy that I'm actually looking at, and I forgot to mention, and that is Davis Bertans. I know, Will, I mentioned him 2 weeks ago when we did this, and I said I'm a big Davis Bertans fan. Mm-hmm. And now that
You really said that? You're admitting that you said that.
I am admitting that. And you know what? His last 2 games, I've gotten proof of that. In his last 2 games, he has played almost 30 minutes and put up over 30 fantasy points in both games. So everyone that ate my words, enjoy that, because 4,300 is the same price tag that he was 2 games ago. So fire him up. Davis Bertans, another great value play at the wing position now that he's starting at 4,300. Those are my 2 guys, Russell Westbrook and Davis Bertans. That's it. Who do you like?
Okay, I'm giving you crap, but I have Davis Bertans on my list also. Because Rui is out and Denny Avdia is out. Someone has to fill in that production, so I think he's a good play at 4,300. And I think when you're building your lineup, just see who you can afford. If you can afford Westbrook, put him in your lineup at 11,000. He's safe. Like I said, at OKC, he's going to want to put on a show. If you don't quite have as much money left, throw in Bradley Beal. I mean, Bradley Beal has been picking up his production lately. He should get you anywhere between 40 and 50 DraftKings points. So that's a pretty good play at 9,600. And the only other guy I'm really looking at is my guy. Since Bertans is your guy, my guy is Daniel Gafford. Last game he had. Yeah, you can't forget about my guy. He had 19 points and 10 boards.
I'm just regretting the fact that I forgot to mention he was my second center pick that I mentioned earlier on the recording, and I completely skipped over him. So please continue.
Right, 19 and 10 with 3 blocks last game, and when he gets the minutes, he's very productive. The 2 games before that, before that he only had 16 minutes, decent games. But the game before that, again, 26 minutes, had 18 and 7. So the Wizards should be in the position where they realize, okay, we need to give this guy 25 to 30 minutes, and he's going to be productive. And I think this is still at under 4,000 for a starting center to be in your lineup. And there are 2 other centers. Robin Lopez has been putting up a little bit of stats, pretty good on defense, but Alex Len is just not that good anymore. So I think Gafford is one of my favorite plays of the night.
Let me ask you this question then. Who do you like more, Daniel Gafford or DeAndre Jordan? Go.
I gotta go. Oh, that is tougher than you think, but I'm gonna go with Daniel Gafford because, man, that's really a good question. That's a good because they do have 3 centers and DeAndre Jordan doesn't have much competition, but I'm still gonna go with Gafford. Who would you pick in that scenario?
I love the. I love the loyalty. I'm going to go with Gafford, despite me forgetting to mention him when I went. Definitely going Gafford. I was mentioning 2 center lineups with 2 guys under 4K, and those are the 2 guys that I was thinking of. So I'm with you 100%. Gafford all the way. He'll play 10 minutes most likely, just given how Scott Brooks operates, just because of that. So anyway, I love it. I love it. Cool. Anyone else on the Wizards? Otherwise, we can move on to the Thunder.
I mean, you could look at Garrison Matthews because, like I said, someone has to fill in those Rui minutes. But I think you need to wait and see on that because we just don't know what they're going to do. So that's it.
Absolutely, no, I'm with you 100%. So, talking about injuries, who are you looking at on the Thunder? I've got a few guys actually circled with so many guys out, and they're in full tank mode, as proven by the last game where Moses Brown played too well for the coach's liking. So he was pulled after playing like 12 minutes, I believe. So that's something to behold during this short season. But who do you like on the Thunder? Just given the full tank mode going on here.
Well, I'm glad you let me go first because you have a couple of guys. I have one guy. Darius Bazley at 6,400. He's been playing very well, especially his last 2 games. Everyone is hurt. That is a scorer. If Dort plays, that's going to hurt him a little bit. But if Dort is out, is Bazley's team to run pretty much, and he's going to get all the opportunities he wants. Everyone else, it's a crapshoot to me. So, who are your guys you like on OKC?
I mean, you nailed it. Darius Bazley, and then I said a couple guys. The only other guy I'm looking at, and I hate to do this, but I have to. Kenrich Williams at 4,900. Yeah, that price tag is not the best, but his last couple of games he's been productive. He's put up 30 fantasy points in the last couple of games. He's getting minutes. I mean, it's almost like they want him to get minutes because they think the more minutes he gets, the more chance they have of losing. That's what it sounds like. So if he continues to get minutes, I see no reason why he can't hit value at 4,900. So I'm looking at Kenrich Williams as a tournament play and a tournament play only for that simple fact. So I'm with you on Darius Bazley, though. He's a great call. Unless we have anyone else, I think we can move on from this exciting matchup and move
I don't
on
think
to
anyone is going to be watching that game.
a shout out to the Washington Wizard fans and Oklahoma City Thunder fans that actually support the team, whether they're losing or winning. But you're right. Outside of those people, there's no other reason to watch this game. So
Right.
you can definitely skip that. Moving on to the next slate, we have a 10 p.m. slate. In the first game up, we have the Memphis Grizzlies. We have the Denver Nuggets traveling to take on the Golden State Warriors. As far as spreads and totals, we have the Warriors. Currently, the Nuggets favored by 3 points with a total of 228. As far as injuries are concerned, on the Nuggets side, Monte Morris is out, and Jamal Murray, of course, is out as well. On the Warriors side, Damian Lee is out, Eric Pascal is out, Klay Thompson's out, James Wiseman's out, and Juan Toscano Anderson is questionable in this one. As far as Denver is concerned, it's going to be interesting for me as far as on the Denver side of the ball. It definitely starts usually with Nikola Jokic, and this is another fantastic opportunity for Jokic to put up one of his ceiling type of games, 65, 70 points, without even blinking an eye. Coming off a dud by every use of that word for a player of his caliber in the last one against Trailblazers, where he failed to hit double-digit assists, which is very rare, or rebounds. I think he's going to have a bounce-back effort with 65, 70-point ceiling in this one. And I like that price tag. I think if we have an option between Westbrook or Jokic, I'll take the $100 savings and go Jokic personally. Who else on the Nuggets side? I'm also looking at Michael Porter Jr., 7,700, and Will Barton at 5,500. Both guys are definitely going to be in my player pool. I think I'll probably be leaning more towards taking the price savings and go Will Barton at 5,500, just because you want to have more flexibility in your lineups. But I have to say that they're both going to be potentially in play for me. And then I'm going to have some interest, probably tournament-only interest, finally, in Mr. Facundo Campazzo, which I definitely blew that pronunciation. But I also think that he's a guy that is going to get more and more comfortable now that he's getting starter minutes. And someone needs to facilitate outside of Jokic. So I expect Campazzo to really step up the game at 4,400. Not a bad price tag to pay for someone that's getting that many minutes a game. So that's what I'm looking at on Denver side of the ball. Who do you like, Will?
I think you nailed it with your calls. Michael Porter Jr. is kind of a risky play for me. His last 3 games have not been what you want them to be. He's been solid, but we've seen in the past where he's gotten 45 to 50 DraftKings points. So that's what we're hoping for. So if you want to take an even bigger risk, I think you can look at the only other guy you didn't mention, Aaron Gordon. He's kind of been on a downtrodden statistical, journey right now. I thought he would pick it up with Jamal Murray's injury, but he hasn't done that yet. But this will be the perfect opportunity against the Warriors. Should be a high-paced, high-scoring game. But that's a big risk. You just know he's going to get the minutes, but we hope he can put some of that production up that Denver would like to see. But yeah, Campazzo with Monte Morris out, you can look at him at 4,400. He's going to be on the floor and possibly getting assists. Well, he actually hasn't been getting assists, but you hope to see his assist numbers ramp up. So, but the only guy you really can trust on Denver is Jokic, honestly. But they just have a lot of options.
Yeah, no, you definitely nailed it there. I mean, it's tough. They have so many mouths to feed. It's really tough to really align on who's going to be the guy that steps up. And we've seen different guys step up recently for the Nuggets with Jamal Murray out. So definitely something to monitor as we go. But great opportunity, great matchup. Could be high scoring as well. So I love it. As far as on the Golden State side of the ball, are you going to go back to the well on Mr. Steph Curry, or are you going to fade him after a dud by Steph Curry standards in his last one?
Right, a dud, almost a triple-double, a dud. But yes, as far as DraftKings points, it was his lowest in a long time. But I think he can go back to the well. He's not going to do that twice in a row. For the most part, we don't expect that. 10,300 is a pretty good price for him. if you need to do some savings on the point guard position and you don't want to spend $11,000 for Russ, you can always go with Steph. And this should be a competitive game. He should be in it to the end. It shouldn't be one of those where they're dominating so much he doesn't play the fourth quarter. So you don't have to worry about that. And the only other guy I'm looking at is Draymond at 6,900. He's a pretty solid play. He does all the dirty work, good all-around player. I like Wiggins, but it's too much competition with Wiggins and Oubre and Bazemore and Poole and all these guys. So they kind of cannibalize each other a little bit. So I'm just going to go with Steph and Dre in this matchup. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, those are two great calls. The only other guy I'm really looking at, I mean, this is probably going to be more tournament play, but it's hard to ignore Mr. Kent Bazemore in his last game. He just put up an absolute like historic performance for Kent Bazemore standards, where he had 6 steals and 2 blocks. I'm not expecting that kind of production in this game against the Nuggets, but if Kent Bazemore is getting 30 minutes a game, he might just fall into 20-25 fantasy points. And at 4,100, it's really hard to argue against that price tag. And his price actually went down to 4,100 after a 52-point effort. So again, thank you, DraftKings, and thank you for whoever priced him even lower in this game. So I'm going to take advantage, I think, in this game. So I'm looking at Kent Bazemore as well as the aforementioned guys you mentioned, Draymond Green and Steph Curry. But Kent Bazemore is another one of my value plays tonight. Any interest in Kent?
That's a great call, but I just don't trust it because I don't see a guarantee for minutes. He started over Kelly Oubre last game, didn't he?
He did indeed.
So I wonder if they're gonna keep that going. If you see that he's starting, I definitely think you can put him in your lineup. But if he's moved back to the bench role, you just don't know how many minutes he's actually gonna get.
Yeah, that is a completely fair call. All right, so I think we've reached the last game of the night. We have the Memphis Grizzlies traveling to take on the Portland Trail Blazers at the 10 p.m. start time. We have a total of 233.5, so the highest total of the night, with the Blazers favored by 3 points. As far as injuries are concerned, we have Jaron Jackson Jr., who is available for this game. And then we have who's actually available, which is exciting. Jonte Porter is available. Jonas Valanciunas is still out, but he is marked questionable on DraftKings, something to monitor as we get closer. Justice Winslow is available as well. On the Blazers side, we have Zach Collins, who remains out. CJ McCollum is available, so is Yusuf Nurkic, and Derrick Jones Jr. is questionable in this one. All right, Will. Who do you like on the Memphis side of the ball in this game, knowing that they're giving a lot of their younger guys a look along with Jaron Jackson Jr.?
Right, that's the main guy right there. With Jonas Valanciunas out, Jaron Jackson Jr. is back. Fire him up in your lineup. First game back, only played 18 minutes, but he had 15 and 8 with 4 blocks. I mean, that's just amazing production. He fit right back in like a glove. And the only other guy I'm looking at really is Xavier Tillman. That's the rookie for them at 4,600. His production has been a lot better too with Jonas out, and Brandon Clark's been struggling. So they could give the rookie a little bit more playing time, so you keep an eye out on him. I don't really trust anyone else on Memphis. A lot of guys can put up production, but I don't know if anyone is necessarily a lock. What do you think?
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. I mean, you touched on it. Xavier, Tillman, Michigan State former alum. Just want to throw it out there. Definitely exciting. He's definitely one of my favorite picks. I don't know how much interest I'm going to have, unfortunately, in Jaron Jackson Jr. just because of that price tag is a little too high for a guy that's coming back from injury. So I don't know if he's going to get enough minutes to warrant that price tag at $7,000. That's my only concern. I have no faults in going Jaron Jackson Jr. here, but that's something that I'm definitely going to monitor to see if he can get his minutes up to 20 minutes potentially in this one. I'm the last guy I'm looking at on the Memphis side really is going to be John Morant, 7,200. I know that his production has been all over the map, but a couple of nights ago he put up 72 fantasy points. I don't expect that in this game against the Blazers, but with Lillard and McCollum both healthy, expect a nice little back and forth battle between the point guard positions. So I'm going to go John Morant at 7,200. I think he's in play for sure at that price tag, and that's pretty much it on the Memphis side of the ball, unless you have anyone else.
You just shot my guy down, Jaron Jackson Jr. I'm kind of sad now.
I mean, it's nothing personal though. Nothing personal. Listen, as a Michigan State fan, I support all former Spartans, right? But Jaron Jackson Jr. coming off injury is just so difficult for me at 7,000 to pull that trigger. That's all. If he was 6,500, I would play him every day of the week. So.
Okay, all right, I feel better.
Okay, good. Awesome. All right. I think we can move over to the Blazers side of the ball, and as I mentioned, they pretty much are healthy up and down the board. So, with a healthy roster in the Blazers, any interest in either Lillard or McCollum in the backcourt, or Yusuf Nurkic at the center position?
Well, you named two of my three guys. Well. I have two of those three guys. So, yeah, I think you can look at Damian Lillard. His first game after missing a week of action, he had 38.5 DraftKings points, 22 points, actual points. But the main thing is he played 37 minutes, and that's huge. So, there's no limitation on him right now, which is kind of surprising with the hamstring. I would have expected, more limited minutes. So, he has the potential to get 50 DraftKings points at any night, knowing that he's playing a full complement of minutes. He's not safe, I think Steph is a better play. Westbrook's a better play, but, you can always throw Dame in your lineup and you'll be safe, knowing that he's going to get those minutes. And I'm also looking at Nurkic at 5,200. He should have a pretty easy night because Jonas Valanciunas is not in there. And that's the guy he would have been banging up against all night. So at 5,200, last game he played 29 minutes. His production should keep ramping up. That's just the thing, he's not playing in the 30 minutes yet. It's like they're still trying to get his legs under him. But I think this will be a pretty good matchup for him. I don't really trust anyone else on the Blazers right now because everyone is healthy for the most part. What do you think?
Yeah, no, you definitely nailed it. I mean, Lillard is a great call. I think at 9,500, definitely some price salary savings, which we definitely want to take advantage of, especially since his last game he did not come off a good game in that matchup. But I think this is a perfect opportunity for a bounce back here. So Lillard's a great call. And again, Yusuf Nurkic, a guy that I loved earlier in the season, coming back from injury. He should be in play, should get plenty of minutes. I don't see a lot of issues him hitting 30, 35 fantasy points in this one against a soft Grizzlies front court, which is fantastic. I have to say that those are my key guys here. And that's pretty much it. I don't think we need to go too far down the rabbit hole here with the Trailblazers. And that's pretty much it, I guess. Who's your now that we've covered the full 7-game gamut, who is your favorite value play under 4,500 and your favorite high price guy on the slate?
Okay, my favorite high price guy, I would say over 8,000, would be Paul George at 9,300. With Kawhi out, it's always a lock pretty much to play him, even though they're going to potentially be in a blowout. Who do you have?
I'm looking at Jason Tatum for me at 10,000. I love him for whatever reason. I see 40 and 10 written all over this matchup.
Yeah, with Jaylen Brown out, that's a good call. All right, you can't forget the mid-tier guy too, 4,500 to 8,000.
100%, and I'm not gonna forget it. It's just more of like I just didn't want to mention it, so I'll have to straight up. I'll have to go with. It's really tough. The mid-tier I don't really like too much, to be honest. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna stay on the Boston Celtics side of the ball, and if if Kemba Walker is out,
there you go again.
There I go again. Marcus Smart, I love that call. If Kemba Walker is out at 6,900,
that's a good call. That's a good call. And I would say John Collins at 6,800. If Capela is out, I think he has potential to have a big game.
Perfect. So, who is your value play in that case? You named a few great ones tonight.
My guy is the guy that you forgot about. I'm going to go with Daniel Gafford at 3,800. I think he has that double-double potential. It's just a great price for him.
I love it. I love it. I'm going to go Armani Brooks, 3,600 on the Houston Rockets. I think he's going to get plenty of minutes. They have nothing to play for. So, I'm going to go Armani Brooks to end the conversation.
Well, to keep the conversation going for one more person.
All right, go.
I got to go with Brandon Goodwin. I think, with Trey out, that's somebody you got to consider too.
Absolutely. I almost went Lou Williams there. So it looks like we have some differences going into the slate. But but you got to have some differences. Otherwise, it's not really worth it. Otherwise, all set. Otherwise, cool. So I just want to wrap it up by saying that it was always a pleasure, Will. You can find Will and I on Twitter. My Twitter name is dmank33. Why don't you tell everyone how they can find you on Twitter as well?
My Twitter is @WilliamIsBill. Come on and join us. All
right. With that, I want to say good luck and good night and good morning to all our Hoopball listeners at DFS today. I am David, my partner Will here, and have a great night and good luck. Take down some GPPs.
Peace.
This has been a Hoopball presentation.